I got to Chicago in June of 1985, and I stumbled upon a football team that had been galvanized together by a loss in the NFC Championship game the year before. I believe it was 21-0 at San Francisco. This 85 team was loaded with talent and personality. And, I was at some function at Soldier Field. I met Ditka and McMahon and everybody I met, just like they were just laser focused on we're winning the Super Bowl next. And, by God, they went on and, you got to training camp in Platteville in early July, and you could tell these guys were on a frickin' mission. And they were bombastic and talented and everything else. And you could tell they were the best team in the NFL in early July. And by the end of January, they were still the best team in the NFL by far. And it was an incredible season to be a part of that, especially in Chicago, where they hadn't won a championship, an NFL championship, since 1963. So this was really special. And, the only regret I have is I wish I had been there earlier to really go through the building up process that had to go into it to build this team. But it was a phenomenal experience. It really was. When Dan Fabian, one of the most brilliant program directors I've ever been around in radio, we're at WGN Radio. It's the mid-'80s. WGN Radio is the #1 radio station in America by all counts, by billing, by audience share, by sports. They had the Cubs, they had DePaul, they had Notre Dame, they now had the Bears. It was absolutely the #1 radio station, bar none, in America, any market. And he was the brains behind the programming of that station. Had great personalities all throughout the day, and in this sports primarily at night. And he's building this team, so he hires me from Kansas City. And then he hires Jim Hart, who had just retired after backing up Joe Theismann in Washington with the Redskins. Jim was known more as the Cardinals quarterback for years and years in St. Louis. Great player. He happened to grow up in St. Charles, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. So Dan hired him to come in and do the analysis. Well, nobody knew who Wayne Larrivee was in Chicago, Jim Hart was the Cardinals guy. So what the F,
Mm-hmm.
So how was Fabian going to make this broadcast Chicago? Well, think about it. Who's the quintessential Bear you think about when you think about the Chicago Bears? Well, at that time, remember, the 85 Bears haven't happened yet. At that time, you're thinking Dick Butkus.
Mm-hmm.
And so he called out to Dick Butkus in Malibu, California. He's an actor, or was an actor, and he's doing, movies and things like that. And so Dan said, now, Dick, here's the thing. We want you to just come in for the games. You don't have to go to practices or meetings or anything like that. We just want you to kind of be a fan surrogate. Just when the Bears do well, we want you to, cheer. When they do bad, growl, that type of thing. And Butkus said, well, he's an actor. He said, well, yeah, I can do that. So he came in every week, and he was the fan surrogate in the booth. Now he was much more than that. He had obviously knowledge of the game and everything else. He understood everything. He was close with Ditka, and so he offered a lot of insight. But he did fill that role of, man, you knew on the radio without even hearing the play, if there was a growl, then you knew the Bears had messed up. But if they had scored, that type of thing, you knew something good was happening on the radio. Might not have been able to hear the call, but it was good for the Bears.